Outside the theater, there were already theater staff handing over questionnaires. Undoubtedly, almost all viewers gave it an A+ rating. Sarati Merton also said, "In such a film, would anyone be stupid enough not to play A+? Probably not, right?" Hearing this, a fan who watched Shark Beach together silently added A+ sign after A. He didn't want to be that stupid person. After sending his aunt's family away, little Gilbert anxiously awaited news from Universal Pictures. Old Gilbert came back in style, looked at the nervous little Gilbert and comforted, "Don't be nervous, little Gilbert. If this movie doesn't work, you can continue to follow Steven as an assistant director. What's more, you don't have to fail yet." "I hope so." Little Gilbert could only pray and hope. The pressure on the directing industry is particularly high, and it is not ordinary. Shark Beach, a $3.5 million film alone, almost caused little Gilbert to suffer from insomnia. It's hard to imagine how much pressure there is on directors who invest 50 or 60 million or even hundreds of millions of dollars in movies. Therefore, many times, going to bed is a very effective way to relax, and some directors who are psychologically abnormal have reached the point where women can't satisfy him. However, little Gilbert only likes women and is not interested in creatures other than women. If you have a gunship or a plastic bag, he doesn't know where to start. Today's North America is not as exaggerated as the magic will be 30 years later, and there are still many normal people. It's just a pity that Gwyneth Paltrow isn't there and Verona Ryder hasn't come to him for weeks. Little Gilbert didn't want to go to the bar to have an affair, so he could only hold back. But fortunately, Universal Pictures didn't let Gilbert Jr. wait long, and soon the screening data on the first day was sent. There are only 30 screens in 30 movie theaters in the United States, and a single movie theater has 9 screenings a day, with an average attendance of 23 people and an average box office of $105 per show. Therefore, the total box office on the first day of screening was about $28,350, which is a miserable figure. But fortunately, while the box office of the screening was not good, there was also another good news. Universal Pictures collected a total of 2,362 questionnaires, of which 1,736 gave films an A+, 425 A's, and less than 40 C's. This shows that the film is very popular with fans who have watched the screening, and it has a super high reputation among the audience. In addition, more than half of the fans said that they would definitely recommend the movie Shark Beach to the people around them. Such a high reputation once again gave Universal Pictures a certain amount of confidence. Perhaps the October schedule was too deserted and Universal Pictures had no other films to release, so it decided to continue to expand the scale of screenings. By the second day, there were 50 movie theaters on demand, and on the third day the number was 100. On the fourth day, with the spread of word of mouth, the cinemas with a serious shortage of tickets can no longer satisfy fans. Fans are calling on Universal Pictures to expand the scale of screenings as soon as possible, and they want to see the movie Shark Beach. By this time, Universal Pictures executives finally decided that the movie Shark Beach had a lot to offer. So, finally on Friday, October 25th, the weekend before Halloween, Shark Beach landed in theaters on a large scale. Levitt Gore, the director of distribution at Universal Pictures, kept talking to theater companies on the phone, using ironclad data to persuade theater companies to increase the schedule of Shark Beach. Man, what are you hesitating about now? Is there anything more popular on the market than the movie Shark Beach? I knew I was going to leave room for Captain Hook, but that movie was released in November, and the empty slot in the middle was left moldy? Okay, well, discuss and make a decision as soon as possible. You and I don't want to lose a lot of box office. When he hung up, Levitt Gore told Vice President Lou Vasseur, "There has never been a young director who has woken me so much, and Gilbert Jr. is really a genius." Lou Vassell laughed. We at Universal Pictures experienced a similar genius once in 1975. Now that genius is filming Jurassic Park for us. Che! Heirs to Universal Pictures for two geniuses. Cheers! You can't drink alcohol while working as soon as possible, but good things are worth celebrating, so Lou Vasseur opened a bottle of champagne to celebrate. In the face of huge interests, even the face of little Gilbert, Lou Vassell felt a lot more pleasing to the eye. The communication with the theater chain was very smooth, and on the new weekend, October 25th, the number of theaters of Shark Beach quickly rose to 1,200, covering major cities in the United States. This scale still can't be compared to the scale of those A-grade big productions, but for a film with only $3.5 million investment, it is quite remarkable. In view of the film's excellent screening performance, Universal Pictures once again increased its investment in publicity and spent $2 million in publicity funds for publicity. In Hollywood in the early 90s, the publicity and distribution funds of an A-level production, generally, did not exceed $10 million and, so far, Universal Pictures' investment in publicity and distribution has only slightly exceeded the production cost of Shark Beach. Because it was about to be released on a large scale, Gwyneth Paltrow finally met with Gilbert Jr. according to the requirements of Universal Pictures and started a roadshow promotion in the United States. When it was previously announced, it was advertised that the two were a couple. Now it's okay. Little Gilbert and Gwyneth Paltrow form a couple, showing their affection in public. The return of Gwyneth Paltrow also temporarily solved the problem of little Gilbert not having a bed partner. When the two ran for publicity in the United States, they practiced yoga together. There was even a roadshow in a hurry, and the two exercised once in the car. With the release of the movie, Gwyneth Paltrow gradually gained a fan base. When I went to the roadshow, I could still see a lot of fans holding her sign, finally enjoying the sensation of fame, which excites Gwyneth Paltrow. Maybe it's because he knows that his daughter has finally entered the Hollywood circle, or maybe because of Gilbert Jr.'s achievements. Mr. Paltrow loosens his control over his daughter. Gwyneth Paltrow simply moved to little Gilbert's apartment and lived with him, and the two became a seemingly loving couple. At the same time, Universal Pictures continued to make efforts in publicity, and the name of the movie, Shark Beach, finally did not need to circulate in the second- and third-rate tabloids. Hollywood Reporter, Variety magazine, and other media began to mention the film, and even the Los Angeles Times, one of the three major newspapers in North America, also gave a page. These all prove that Shark Beach has finally become popular after a long period of fermentation. Of course, no matter what the word of mouth is and how it is fermented, it is not as important as the real box office. No matter what the film company says about the so-called sake of art, no film company invests in a film for the sake of so-called art, but for the money in the pockets of the audience. If you can't make money, even if the movie is the first word of mouth in film history, it will be a bad movie for the film company. However, the movie Shark Beach did it, and it made a fortune. The film began to open on a large scale on October 25th and earned $2.413 million at the box office on the same day. This result is nothing for an A-level production, but for Shark Beach, it is a very outstanding result. Don't forget, this is the October schedule, not the hot summer schedule. Shark Beach also has the title of a Spielberg producer, and the reputation is accumulated by screening a little bit, which is a very good result. October 26th is Saturday, and on this day, Shark Beach made another great achievement, cutting $4.427 million at the box office in a single day, which surprised Universal Pictures. This is not over. October 27th, which is Sunday, and the film once again cut $3.214 million at the box office in a single day. In the first week of its large-scale release, Shark Beach has already cut $9.854 million at the box office. Coupled with the box office of screenings, the total box office of Shark Beach exceeded 10 million, reaching a box office of $10.194 million. Until this time, Shark Beach was already unstoppable. It is recommended to test the waters, order a small barbecue, to celebrate. In Hollywood, what happens when the first work of your career closes to 10 million at the box office in the first week? The answer is, you'll be on fire. That's right, after Shark Beach hit 9.854 million box office in the first week of its large-scale opening, the name of its director Gilbert Landrini Jr. resounded in Hollywood. In fact, from the beginning, the name of Gilbert Jr. was widely spread in Hollywood, and the son of the elder Gilbert Landrini got the opportunity to direct through the back door. Arrogance, and ignorance of the height of the sky were all labels that Hollywood put on Gilbert Jr. at that time. There are even doubts that little Gilbert is Spielberg's illegitimate child. Otherwise, there is no explanation why Spielberg would promote him so much. However, with the total box office of the Shark Beach film exceeding 10 million, all the previous doubts, ridicule, and abuse disappeared. In its place, there was an overwhelming wave of praise and praise. For a time, little Gilbert became a genius director synonymous with talent. The elder Gilbert's stupid son became an excellent young man who inherited the old Gilbert's cinematic talent, and Spielberg became a model of discerning talent. As for Universal Pictures, which invested in and distributed Shark Beach, it was praised by the media for its accurate vision, and it could be brilliant for many years. For many years, it depends on whether little Gilbert will give it or not. Although the film has not yet achieved profitability, everyone knows that this is not the end of the film. For a time, Gilbert Jr. became a very popular person in Hollywood recently. As for Gwyneth Paltrow, because of her outstanding performance in Shark Beach, she has become a new generation of sweethearts, sitting on countless fans, and she is completely famous. Not only Hollywood circles, but even ordinary movie fans, under the media reports, know that the director of Shark Beach is a 21-year-old young man. At such a young age, such a movie was made, which attracted the attention of many fans for a while. It's a pity that there are no hot words on the internet these days, otherwise little Gilbert's name must be among the best. After the film became popular in the United States, many first-line newspaper media published relevant comments. This is very different from when it was first announced. Chicago Sun-Times' Roger Albert seems to be bullish on Gilbert Jr., and he took the initiative to write a review of the film when Universal Pictures did not have a PR. Shark Beach isn't a classic horror movie that can be savored for a long time, but it's definitely a pretty good popcorn movie. Director Gilbert Jr. and starring Gwyneth Paltrow and that shark bring the tension of a long-lost B-movie. Little Gilbert knows how to create the tension of such a genre, as well as to show that suspenseful and suffocating atmosphere in multiple layers, while bringing a lot of beautiful marine shots. After watching this Shark Beach, I am very much looking forward to his future film works. At the end of the film review, Roger Albert gave his unique 2-thumbs-up logo, saying that he highly recommended the movie. Roger Albert is one of the most well-known film critics in the United States, and his show, Watching a Movie with Siskel and Albert, hosted by Gene Siskel, is the most commercialized film review program in the United States. When it comes to commercialization, it is conceivable that Roger Albert is not a simple film critic. It's impossible to want him to cheer for the film without any benefits. But such a highly commercial film critic publicly stood for Shark Beach without public relations. This scene made little Gilbert himself begin to suspect that he was the illegitimate son of Roger Albert. But when he went home to see the old man solved his doubts. It was the film review I asked Roger Albert to write, old Gilbert said. Looking at the old man dressed like a rock star, little Gilbert couldn't believe it. As if to see the suspicion in Gilbert's eyes, the elder Gilbert explained, Roger Albert owes me a favor, which is just right for exchange. Wow. Uncle Stephen also owes you favors, What did you do in your early years? Little Gilbert wondered if the old Gilbert was a hidden big man in Hollywood. Humph. Old Gilbert looked very proud. When I was young, I was a producer who was all over Hollywood and a guest of honor at the top of the film company. Isn't it normal to have these connections? Little Gilbert gave a thumbs up and said, I now believe that you really dated Audrey Hepburn and had a one-night stand with Marilyn Monroe. I never brag, I'm telling the truth. Old Gilbert said triumphantly. Film critics have historically contributed only a limited amount to the box office, and their main role is to be useful during the award season when it comes to the Oscars. However, being able to get Roger Albert's recommendation still helped Shark Beach expand its viewing group to a certain extent. The new week may be a real lack of competitive productions in the film market, and Shark Beach continues to expand its screening scale, reaching 3,700 screens in 1,800 theaters. Under such circumstances, the box office trend of Shark Beach remained stable on weekdays, and it continued to win $2.236 million in a single day on Monday. This is not over, and then from Tuesday to Thursday, it made $2.893 million, $2.035 million, and $1.897 million at the box office, respectively. With Halloween approaching, the market for this type of thriller and horror film expanded again, and in the 3 days of the new weekend, Shark Beach cut $7.826 million at the box office. Coupled with the box office harvest in the previous 4 working days, Shark Beach became the North American box office champion of the week with a box office of $14.651 million in a single week. This is the North American weekly box office champion, although it is not a summer file, but it is also a champion, and Gilbert Jr.'s name once again resounded in Hollywood. At this moment, not only media reporters, but even major Hollywood film companies and brokerage companies can't sit still. After returning to Los Angeles after returning to the North American promotional journey, in addition to paying attention to the box office, he has been writing new movie scripts. In fact, he has filed more than a dozen scripts with the Screenwriters Guild, all of which are films planned to be shot in the future. However, in the past few days, major film companies and agents have been finding the door. Because the security of the apartment he lived in was not good, little Gilbert was very disturbed, so he temporarily moved back to live with old Gilbert. The son has achieved a lot of success, and the elder Gilbert has no objection to the younger Gilbert moving back home. He also handed over the keys to the house to him for safekeeping, saying that he was going to Europe for a vacation, and he would meet his old lover by the way. He couldn't even afford to eat before, but now he can go on vacation to Europe, which makes little Gilbert wonder if the old man has received benefits. Since he made his achievements, even his little aunt who was far away in San Francisco was disturbed. Agents kept coming to her and trying to take a roundabout route to get Gilbert Jr.'s brokerage contract. The little aunt was very troubled, and the old Gilbert probably ran straight to the vacation after receiving the benefits, throwing the trouble to himself. This unscrupulous old man. Shark Beach was a box office hit, and the film was released for 10 days and won $24.845 million at the box office, which can be described as a great success. The key is that this is not the end, and both The Hollywood Reporter and the Los Angeles Times believe that in the end, Shark Beach will reach between $40 million and $45 million at the North American box office. However, this is not the end of the story. Given the film's good performance in the North American market, Universal Pictures decided to release the film overseas. So it's fair to say that Shark Beach still has a lot to offer overseas. You must know that with the collapse of a certain big country, Hollywood has further expanded the global film market and has become the center of the global film industry. Hollywood films that are generally popular in North America usually do well overseas. And for the hot little director Gilbert, Universal Pictures will naturally not give up. The previous $100,000 salary was indeed too little, and President Akio Tani and Vice President Lou Wassler discussed and decided to give Gilbert Jr. a bonus of $200,000. If you don't have a good relationship with Gilbert Jr. at this time, it will be a dereliction of duty for Universal Pictures. Although the film is still being released in theaters in North America, Universal Pictures decided to hold a grand celebration banquet for the film. Gilbert Jr. and star Gwyneth Paltrow are naturally also the protagonists of the celebration banquet. Located on a manor house in Santa Monica, the celebration of Shark Beach is taking place here. The people who come and go are basically big people with heads and faces in Hollywood, and these big people who used to have to accompany little Gilbert to see a smiling face are rare to give face to participate in the celebration banquet today. Of course, it's just to give face to participate in the celebration banquet. After all, little Gilbert only has one successful movie. Who knows if it was short-lived? So it's good to have a friendship, and in the future, when little Gilbert proves his ability again, everyone will have a lot of opportunities for cooperation. Little Gilbert held up his glass. His face stiffened, but he had to cheer up and continue to socialize. If you feel uncomfortable, you can actually go to the bathroom and vomit for a while. It will feel much better. At some point, Sheena Boone appeared next to little Gilbert. "Hey, Miss Boone, it's you. Long time no see." Little Gilbert patted his chest and felt a little uncomfortable. "Let's go and vomit for a while," Sheena Boone reminded. Little Gilbert was so good that he went to the bathroom and vomited, then washed his face, and felt much better. "When I went out of the bathroom door, I accidentally bumped into a girl." "Excuse me," Gilbert Jr. apologized. "I'm embarrassed. I didn't see you. Are you okay?" The girl raised her face and looked at little Gilbert with concern.
I'm fine."
Little Gilbert was stunned when he saw the girl's face. I'm really sorry, or you can leave a contact information. I'll treat you to dinner another day and apologize." The girl spoke very sincerely. With her watery, shining eyes, it's unstoppable. "Okay." Gilbert Jr. agreed, and the two exchanged contact information. Little Gilbert saw the girl's name, Cameron Diaz. After the girl left, Sheena Boone came over again and said to little Gilbert, "It's a childish trick, isn't it? But it's also effective, at least seeing her face. No one will have the heart to refuse." Little Gilbert commented, "You're not afraid of Gwyneth Paltrow's jealousy? Your scandal outside is still hype." Sheena Boone asked. "Not really," said little Gilbert, looking at Gwyneth Paltrow, who was talking to a handsome white man. "Our relationship is fake. It's just that we satisfy each other." At this time, another person came over. "Congratulations, little Gilbert. Congratulations on the success of your movie." Sheena Boone whispered, "This is Robert Iger in charge of Touchstone Pictures, and he likes to be called Bob." After listening to Sheena Boone's reminder, little Gilbert put on a warm smile and shook hands with Robert Iger. "Hi, Bob. Thank you for your congratulations." The smile on Robert Iger's face was warm. "Little Gilbert, are you interested in working with Touchstone Pictures? I've just taken the helm of Touchstone Pictures, and I'm in dire need of a talented director like you." Touchstone Pictures is a production company owned by Walt Disney, and compared to Disney's strength in the field of animation, Disney is far inferior to other Hollywood giants in the live-action film business. Because of this, Disney chairman Michael Eisner specially transferred his right-hand man Robert Iger to Walt Disney's Touchstone Pictures and put him in charge of the live-action film business. Everything is difficult at the beginning, with Spielberg at Universal, George Lucas and James Cameron at 20th Century Fox, Paramount and Warner Pictures working closely with many Hollywood A-list directors. MGM also has the 007 series, as well as the rights to several classic films, Sony Columbia Pictures. They have money. Walt Disney is the only one who is simply useless in the live-action film business and is not even as good as some second-tier production companies. By this time, Robert Iger noticed little Gilbert, and he judged that little Gilbert was about to take off. So, unlike other people who just want to get to know little Gilbert, he really wants to work with little Gilbert. This is a celebration occasion for Universal Pictures, and it is not the time to talk about cooperation. So little Gilbert politely refused. "I'm sorry, Bob. My cooperation with Universal Pictures is not over yet. If there is a next project, I will definitely consider Touchstone Pictures." "It's okay." Robert Iger left his contact information. "If you have an idea, feel free to contact me. The door of Touchstone Pictures is always open for you." After Robert Iger left, little Gilbert turned around and asked Sheena Boone, "Miss Boone, are you interested in representing my brokerage business?" Sheena Boone, who had been on good terms with Gilbert Jr., was waiting for this opportunity. "Okay, find a time. Let's talk in detail." "Yes," Gilbert Jr. agreed and asked curiously, "Did you sign Matt Damon, whom I introduced to you last time?" "It's already signed. I fought for him a few opportunities, starred in a few supporting roles, and the development is not bad," Sheena Boone said, pulling out her business card and handing it to little Gilbert. "Super Artist Management Company, your company's name is quite atmospheric. How many people are in the company at present?" Little Gilbert took the business card and asked curiously. "The company is in Burbank City, not far from downtown Los Angeles, and currently has a phone answering and cleaning staff, as well as an assistant." Sheena Boone is honest. Although the Super Artist Management Company has just been established, it is not as good as CAA, ICM, and other big agencies, but it is mainly Sheena Boone, which Gilbert Jr. admires. There must be a lot of conditions for going to a big company, and Gilbert Jr. doesn't like to be manipulated, so signing a contract with Sheena Boone is a very good choice. After the celebration feast, Gwyneth Paltrow found little Gilbert. "Little Gilbert, I don't have a love affair." "Wow. Do you want to be so direct?" Little Gilbert looked a little surprised. "It's so direct. Thank you for the joy you've brought me during this time. I think I've found my true love, and it's time for us to separate." Gwyneth Paltrow has always said something and never knows how to beat around the bush. Well, little Gilbert had anticipated the scene. "Congratulations, Gwen. We'd better hug it again." "This can be." Gwyneth Paltrow threw herself into little Gilbert's arms and whispered, "I will always remember you. You'd better forget about me. If your true love knows that you're still thinking about me, he'll be jealous." "Hee, don't worry, I won't tell him." Gwyneth Paltrow left little Gilbert's arms and looked at little Gilbert deeply. "Then goodbye, little Gilbert." With that, he strode forward without looking back. Looking at the departing Gwyneth Paltrow, little Gilbert still had a sense of loss. To be honest, it was quite a pleasant time with this girl. But the two have always been temporary partners, and the romance is all hype with Universal Pictures. Lovers have times when they break up, let alone a relationship with temporary partners. A few days after the celebration, Gilbert Jr. went to Sheena Boone's office in Burbank and, after the lawyer had read the contract, happily signed his name on the brokerage contract. Sheena Boone also became Gilbert Jr.'s full-time agent, responsible for promoting her film projects with film companies, as well as negotiating remuneration and other work. After signing the brokerage contract, Gilbert Jr. immediately handed Sheena Boone a script. "Is this your new project?" Sheena Boone asked. "Yes." Little Giberton nodded. "Death is Coming" continues the thrilling and terrifying style of Shark Beach, bringing a more thrilling plot. Now the outside world has the impression of him as a B-grade horror and thriller film director, and the same is true of the film company's impression of him. If you rashly change to other themes, the film company will be very hesitant, so it is better to continue the exploration of this genre and accumulate capital for yourself. At the end of the day, Gilbert Jr. is now only a success with one film, and if the next film fails, the fame brought by Shark Beach will be lost. It wasn't time to take any chances, and little Gilbert couldn't afford any failure. Sheena Boone probably read the script and thought the setting was interesting and asked, "Then are we going to continue talking to Universal Pictures?" "Let's talk to Universal Pictures first. Isn't Robert Iger inviting us too?" "Then use it as an alternative." "Okay," Sheena Boone said, understanding, confident, ready to talk to Universal Pictures about the project. A new week is coming, and with Spielberg's Captain Hook about to be released, Shark Beach is finally coming to an end of its days of dominating theaters. At the premiere of Captain Hook, little Gilbert also had to go to cheer. After all, Spielberg was his leader, and he couldn't help but go. However, the day before going to the premiere, a phone call came, and it turned out to be Cameron Diaz, who he met at the celebration banquet. Cameron Diaz apologized and planned to invite little Gilbert to dinner. "I'm sorry, because I don't have any income as a model, so I can't afford to invite too good." Cameron Diaz invites little Gilbert to a meal at an ordinary fast food restaurant, full of apologies. Little Gilbert gestured, "It's okay. I think it's enough to have dinner with beautiful women." Cameron Diaz had the courage to ask little Gilbert, "Do you really think I'm pretty?" "Of course it's beautiful. Will someone say you're not pretty?" Little Gilbert asked. "Of course, when I was modeling, people around me said that I wasn't sexy enough and not sweet enough." Cameron Diaz looks a little unconfident. "Oh my God!" exclaimed little Gilbert. "What kind of eyes are they?" "In my opinion, it's beautiful." Cameron Diaz lowered his head embarrassedly and whispered, "Thank you for the compliment." After eating, little Gilbert settled the bill and did not let Cameron Diaz pay. "I'm sorry, I originally invited you to dinner, but I asked you to settle the bill." Cameron Diaz bowed his head again and apologized again. "Look up, Miss Diaz, be confident." Gilbert Jr. straightened Cameron Diaz's head. Cameron Diaz's big, watery eyes looked at little Gilbert as if he could speak. "Remember, you're no worse than anyone else. What you lack is self-confidence." Little Gilbert encouraged, while carrying Cameron Diaz's small bag, and said, "I'll send you back." "Okay. Thank you, Director Gilbert Jr." Cameron Diaz thanked him and followed Gilbert Jr. out of the restaurant. Behind the invisible back of little Gilbert, Cameron Diaz showed a sly smile and secretly made a V-sign gesture to indicate victory. The restaurant was not far from Cameron Diaz's residence, and the two walked back. Cameron Diaz was bouncing around little Gilbert, the streetlights shining on her face like an angel. It was a very pleasant thing to walk and chat with beautiful women, and it was a short walk of more than 20 minutes. On the way, Cameron Diaz talked about interesting things about being a model over the years, including the experience of going to the island country to develop. Was almost deceived by the director of some genre films in an unscrupulous island country, and the story of a magical escape. "I'm here, little Gilbert." Cameron Diaz arrived at the place and stood in front of little Gilbert vividly, without the slightest appearance of inferiority complex before. By this time, little Gilbert still didn't understand that Cameron Diaz was pretending to be pitiful at the beginning to win sympathy. But in the face of such a delicate beauty, who can bear to blame her? Miss Diaz is really smart and very good at using her strengths. Little Gilbert laughed. Cameron Diaz smiled and hooked little Gilbert's arm and said, "If not, how can you attract the attention of new Hollywood directors?" "I can't help it. You're too sought after. I have to play some tricks and play dim some machines to win this opportunity to chat with you. It's all at my doorstep. Why don't you go up and have a cup of coffee?" "Well, it's all here and I happen to be thirsty." Little Gilbert rode. Cameron Diaz was delighted, took little Gilbert's hand, and walked into his residence. Cameron Diaz's residence is in an apartment in North Hollywood, which is crowded with young actors, directors, and screenwriters who come to Los Angeles to pursue their dreams. Of course, most people are getting farther and farther away from their dreams, and only a very few people can succeed in pursuing their dreams. And what kind of effort and cost will be required in this process, it is unknown. Just like Cameron Diaz at the moment, he used a little trick to get the opportunity to have dinner with little Gilbert, and he could also let him take the initiative to send him home. Fortunately, little Gilbert is only 2 years older than her, and his appearance is not bad. Even if he goes to bed, it is not a loss. It seems like a good choice to be the girlfriend of a potential new star director if you can. If the benefits of sleeping with well-known directors or producers in their 40s and 50s are not worth it, Cameron Diaz can only consider it himself. "What do you want to drink?" Cameron Diaz asked, holding the cup. "Isn't it coffee?" Cameron Diaz smiled sweetly. "Okay, then coffee." Cameron Diaz brewed a cup of coffee for little Gilbert, and if he was a particular person, he would probably dislike it because coffee is instant. But for little Gilbert, it makes no difference whether it's instant coffee or hand-ground coffee. Cameron Diaz himself, instead, poured a glass of red wine, his sexy plump lips gently attached to the edge of the glass, and looked at little Gilbert with big, watery eyes. Gilbert Jr. chatted with Cameron Diaz over coffee. "Did you just come to Los Angeles?" "Yes," Cameron Diaz said wistfully, putting down his glass. "I came to Los Angeles and realized that it was so difficult to become famous. There is no shortage of handsome guys. There is no shortage of beautiful women, and the beauty that I am proud of on my high school campus is not worth mentioning here. It's true. Hollywood has a concentration of the best guys and beauties in the world." What Gilbert Jr. said made Cameron Diaz's face collapse. But then Gilbert Jr. changed his tone and said, "If you want to get out in Hollywood, you first have to find a way to make people notice you and realize that you can replace others. Then, it is the one who makes himself valuable and irreplaceable." Cameron Diaz looked at little Gilbert's handsome face and smiled. "You must have become irreplaceable, right?" "No, it's not even close." Little Gilbert touched his cuffs and said, "I am on an irreplaceable path." Little Gilbert chatted at Cameron Diaz's residence until about 10 o'clock in the evening, and when little Gilbert saw that it was not too early, he offered to take his leave and leave. "Why don't you sleep here tonight?" Cameron Diaz's hint is already obvious. After all, she has a bed here. It's just that little Gilbert pretended not to understand. "No, I'm going to the Dome Theater tomorrow for the premiere of Captain Hook." When he walked out the door, little Gilbert turned back and said, "By the way, you should sign up for an acting class when you have time. Although the vase can be good for a while, acting skills are always the last word." "I see. Thank you." "You're welcome." After seeing little Gilbert leave, Cameron Diaz called his agent. "Kate, are you asleep? Sign me up for an acting class." The China Grand Theater, while commercial films have their premieres at the Dome Theater. Unlike the shabby release of Shark Beach, the premiere of Spielberg's new film can be described as star-studded. The other 3 directors of the 4 majors, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, and Francis Coppola, are all here. Ridley Scott, James Cameron, and other first-line directors also arrived at the scene. You can also see Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, and other Hollywood superstars coming to cheer. In comparison, although little Gilbert has recently become a little famous, in front of these big guys, he is a small miscellaneous fish. If it weren't for Spielberg's invitation, Gilbert Jr. would not have been qualified to come to such an occasion, which is the top circle of Hollywood. However, some reporters were still interested in him, and a reporter from the Los Angeles Business Daily, Sarah, asked him a question. "May I ask director Gilbert Jr., do you have any plans for a new film?" Little Gilbert, who was posing, was stunned, but he didn't expect a reporter to come and ask him questions. However, little Gilbert quickly reacted and replied, "There is a new project to prepare, and it is still a thriller horror film." "So, when will the film be able to meet the audience?" Sarah asked. "Soon. Let's see if any film companies are interested," little Gilbert replied. Aside from Sarah, the other reporters weren't interested in Gilbert Jr., followed by Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Little Gilbert was also happy to be idle and went straight into the theater. where there were already many people seated. In the distance, little Gilbert saw Gwyneth Paltrow greet him. The handsome guy with the white face next to him also looked over and showed little Gilbert a smile with white teeth. Little Gilbert nodded kindly and did not mean to disturb others, and he still knew the line clearly. Little Gilbert finds Spielberg, who is entertaining guests, and says hello first. "Here you are, little Gilbert. Come and introduce you, George Lucas." Spielberg introduces little Gilbert to his friends. "Hello, Director Lucas." Little Gilbert greeted respectfully. George Lucas laughed. "Little Gilbert, I like that movie of yours very much. You did a great job." "Thank you for the compliment. I will definitely continue to work hard." Little Gilbert said modestly. "This is directed by Francis Coppola." Spielberg led Gilbert Jr. to Francis Coppola. "Hello, Director Coppola. Your Godfather series has always been my favorite movie." Little Gilbert continued to greet politely. In fact, he doesn't like such social occasions very much, but he can't help it in Hollywood circles. Sometimes he can't hide if he wants to. Francis Coppola said kindly, "My daughter Sophia likes your Shark Beach very much, and I have time for you young people to communicate more." "Definitely. This is director Martin Scorsese, and he still has a relationship with your father." Spielberg added, "Little Gilbert, is your father all right?" Martin Scorsese asked. Little Gilbert nodded and replied, "Thank you, he is very good, and now he is going to Europe for a vacation." "Hey, this old Gilbert, he's old, and he's still living so well." Martin Scorsese complained, patted little Gilbert on the shoulder and said, "You don't want to learn from him. Career is the foundation." "Thank you for your teachings. I will definitely take them to heart." Little Gilbert's face looked very serious. After recognizing a circle of people, Spielberg let him go, and little Gilbert could finally breathe a sigh of relief. None of these big names are the objects he needs to look up to, and it's okay to have a bad attitude. Others want to have this opportunity, but they don't have it, and little Gilbert can't be unaware. These big men are kind to him, partly because of Spielberg, and partly because of the old man. It seems that the old man when he was young, not to mention the dominant, at least he was a big man with a head and a face. So much so that many years later, little Gilbert is still enjoying the benefits brought by the old man's connections. Of course, this benefit is not so easy to get. If little Gilbert couldn't hold up the wall with a puddle of mud, the big people wouldn't have taken a second look. But now it's different, with works. There is a foundation, and it's worth mentioning a little bit from the big guys. To put it bluntly, thanks to his family and the circle he is in, as long as little Gilbert has the ability, he is naturally a person in the Hollywood circle, which is different from those outsiders. Spielberg's process of leading little Gilbert around to meet people was naturally watched by various directors and stars who attended the premiere. For a while, everyone speculated about the relationship between little Gilbert and Spielberg. Some media reporters also regretted why they didn't ask little Gilbert a question or two just now. It looks like a blast. Only Sarah, a reporter from the Los Angeles Business Daily, secretly rejoiced, because she was the only reporter who asked little Gilbert a question, which was Scoop. The premiere began soon, and it was nothing more than the same old thing, talking about creative concepts, talking about moving, and then showing off feelings, and then watching the movie, media interviews, and the guests attending the premiere talked about their viewing feelings, etc. Little Gilbert was also spotted, which was deliberately arranged by Spielberg. Little Gilbert has no impression of the movie Captain Hook, but the viewing effect just now is good from this era. So little Gilbert also slipped away and said something very moving, even if it was over. After the premiere ended, they went back to their respective homes and looked for their own mothers. A reporter from the Los Angeles Business Daily found Gilbert Jr. and sent an interview invitation. "Excuse me, Director Jr. Gilbert, can you make an appointment for an interview?" With an exclusive interview with a reporter, Gilbert Jr. also took this opportunity to explain his concept of creating a film to the public, so he agreed. "Next week, let's make an appointment." Sarah was pleasantly surprised. "Okay, then we'll see you next week." See you next week. After attending the premiere, little Gilbert had nothing to do for the time being. Universal Pictures' $200,000 prize money was quickly hit on Gilbert Jr.'s account, thinking that he couldn't take a taxi all the time, so little Gilbert bought a Toyota as a means of transportation. North American cars are relatively cheap, and tens of thousands of dollars can buy a good pickup truck. Now Japanese cars occupy the national market, fuel-efficient and cheap, so little Gilbert bought one. Meanwhile, Gilbert Jr. enlisted Sheena Boons help to register a studio in Delaware and rent an office in Burbank. California taxes are too high, and Delaware taxes are lower. The name of the studio, originally Gilbert Jr. wanted to call Yellow Heart, or Yellow Heart for short, to commemorate his past identity. But taking this name, I was afraid that it would be easy for people with a heart to associate it, so I simply changed the name to Muskmelon Studio. Gilbert Jr. has no intention of competing with the Hollywood giants, at least not yet. The purpose of establishing a studio is mainly to serve yourself more conveniently and form a team of your own. At the same time, watching the film company make a fortune with his films, while he can only get paid, little Gilbert is also very greedy. Therefore, in the future, Muskmelon Studio will also participate in the investment and production of its own films to bring more benefits to itself. At the same time, Agent Sheena Boone began to take the script of The Grim Reaper and make contact with Universal Pictures. The film will require a higher investment, and Gilbert Jr.'s salary will definitely go up, depending on the outcome of Sheena Boone's talk. It's time to test the waters, celebrate, and post 2 more chapters. In the future, the update time will be changed to 12 o'clock at noon, which is more convenient and there is no need to stay up late.